No, there's an awful lot going on for the Ohio State Buckeyes right now. Lots of things that could be distracting. All this stuff going on outside of their control. How focused can Ohio State be as they get ready for a Rutgers team that, frankly, is way better than people are giving them credit for and much better than they've been in years past? Let's talk about Ohio State's ability to focus and go on the road to beat a Rutgers team and a noon kick on Saturday afternoon. It's coming up next on the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast.
We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today. Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Buckeye Breakdown. I'm Brendan Gulick along with Anthony Moeglin. Glad to be with you this morning, getting ready for the Buckeyes and the Scarlet Knights. Game 9 coming up Saturday in Piscataway. Anthony, this Ohio State team, I think, is probably as challenged as they've ever been in trying to stay laser focused on one goal. And I'm not saying that they can't do it or that they aren't doing it. I'm saying that I don't think at this point this season, I don't think there has been any more drama, more outside stuff that could cloud their vision the way that it could right now if they lose focus. And I actually thought on Wednesday night, the most important thing that I noticed at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and personally I wasn't there, but in a lot of the coverage that I had seen, the fact that there was no beat and then the opposing team's logo on the video board, which they have done every week for as long as I can remember. This week, it was just the Block O. And I would bet you that what we are talking about here now was a huge topic of conversation among the players and coaches.
No question about it. And especially when you get to this point in the season, right? It's like, hey, we have everything we need in front of us and we control our own destiny. The only team that can beat us and the only group that can mess up this great season we have going is us. And if we get our mind in the wrong place or we start reading the headlines or we take week 9's college football playoff ranking and throw up the banner, then that wrecks your season, right? So it's like a huge emphasis of just stay the course. Like we have everything we want right in front of us. And don't let it slip away because it could really quickly. But if you just focus in on what you need to do, this Ohio State team is like really, really, really tough to beat.
Anthony says the only thing that can stop them is themselves. Just don't tell a Michigan fan that,
Yeah.
Especially right now. That's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
Look, Ohio State, they don't seem to really care that they're ranked number 1 in the country. And to be honest with you, I both appreciate that and I genuinely believe it. I really don't think they give a rip right now. Yeah. They know they got to go out and win games. What should be comforting to them, even if they're never going to admit it publicly, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee choosing to rank Ohio State number 1 right now should tell you that their schedule and their 2 wins over Notre Dame and Penn State carry an awful lot of weight. And the fact that Ohio State's strength of schedule or strength of record is, I think, 15th in the country, where Georgia's like 100th and Michigan's like 111th or 115th. Georgia and Michigan at times have looked dominant, but not constantly. And Ohio State has an unbeaten record, and they've played a very good schedule. And I think it sends the right message, in my opinion, that they've been rewarded for that.
No question. And even the graphic that they put up on the college or the playoff show said they beat number 15 Notre Dame or number 15 Penn State, number 10 Notre Dame, whatever it was. Like those wins were better at the time too, because Notre Dame was in the top 10. I think they were 8 in the country or 9th. And then Penn State was 10th when they beat them. So it's like at the time, those were even better than what they even were portraying, kind of on that show. But it is truly amazing. Like we talked about it before the Wisconsin game. And it just, this team's battle tested, and that shows up in different ways. And even Saturday night in Wisconsin, like that's a really hard environment regardless of what Wisconsin is. And they were just able to tough it out, and because they had been there before, and you never were worried, and they have guys that can make plays all over the field. So it's truly a testament to what this team's been able to do. And you appreciate the ability to have a tough schedule like this and take care of business. And you hope for in the years to come, when the playoff gets to 12 teams and it kind of extends a little bit, that all of the teams will have these cool marquee matchups. But some of the coaches and some of the programs don't want to take that risk. But Ohio State this year took the risk, went on the road to Notre Dame. Obviously, you can't control coming to Penn State coming into town, but they take those big matchups, and they took care of business and did what they needed to do. And that resume that they have right now is pretty awesome.
So Ohio State's going to go to Piscataway, and their quarterback is not 100% healthy. Kyle's banged up, got hurt against Wisconsin, and he's trying to grit his way through it. Their backup quarterback is most certainly not 100% healthy, and I'm not sure I could really envision a way that Devin Brown could get healthy enough to get on the field. So Kyle McCord is going to have to play tough. Mm-hmm. And I think this Rutgers defense is pretty decent. I wouldn't say they're elite, but they're pretty good. And I think there's a reason why Ohio State is an 18.5 point favorite this week instead of a 4 or 5 touchdown favorite, which we've seen at times in this matchup in years past. I want to get into this matchup a little bit, and I guess I would rather pick your brain before I give you my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I do think Rutgers is pretty decent, and Ohio State better get locked in, because otherwise they're going to find themselves in like a 7 to 10 point game late where they have no margin for error.
Which we've seen a couple times out of this Ohio State team. And like we said, they've come out on top. Now, don't get it messed up. I think this Rutgers team, like you said, is I think a little bit more than decent. The truth of the matter is that they're 6-2. They have a couple quality wins, but they're in their games where they've played the good teams. Michigan beat them pretty handily, 31-7, and then Wisconsin actually got them. But they've taken care of business in all their other games. And one of the big things to kind of focus on is their pass defense is actually ranked second in the country. Now, they have played a Big Ten schedule that doesn't really throw the ball too much, but they still have guys that can make plays on the defensive side. And one of the things that kind of caught my attention with this team is, they're obviously coached by Greg Schiano, and they're one of the tenets of Greg Schiano coach teams is great special teams play. And it comes up game after game after game. Like last week, they had a block kick for a touchdown. 2 weeks ago against Michigan, or earlier in the season against Michigan State, they were trailing 24-7, and they had another block punt, for a touchdown. So I think that, for Ohio State, I don't think you're worried necessarily about anything, but you're just, hey, we're just taking up just like you said, that focus of just making sure, hey, we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure we're on it in every stage of the game, making sure that there isn't a huge play that can swing momentum in any way. And then if you just take care of business from there, I think they should be in good shape.
To your point, not only has Rutgers not played some extremely good passing offenses, Ohio State, statistically, it feels quiet, but statistically, they have the best passing offense in the Big Ten this year. In fact, Ohio State, it's from just a superlatives perspective, the numbers are still pretty good. There's a reason why they're the number 1 ranked team in the country. It's not just that they're undefeated with a couple good wins. They are 15th nationally and first in the Big Ten in passing offense. Defensively, the Buckeyes are 4th in total defense nationally, 4th in total defense, 16th in rush defense, 4th in pass defense, 1st in pass efficiency defense. They are 9th in fewest first downs allowed, 19th in red zone defense, and they are 2nd nationally in scoring defense, giving up only 10 points a game. So especially on the defensive side, the Buckeyes have been elite. And we've talked about that ad nauseum this year. But I don't think Ohio State is going to win this game 20-10. I don't necessarily see that. I think there's going to be a few more points than that. And so when Rutgers is out there defensively, I think their best chance at giving Ohio State a headache, especially knowing that Cal McCord is not 100%, if they can, I'm not going to say take away Ohio State's ability to run, but if they can make it frustrating on Ohio State trying to run the ball, the Buckeyes are averaging 3.9 yards per carry this season through 8 games. That is way below where they would like to be. And they're only running for about 133 yards a game. On the flip side, you finally have a healthy Travion Henderson. And if he can run like he did last week, that's you almost want to just say, okay, throw those numbers out the window. But it's worth acknowledging that the Buckeyes haven't run the ball great this year, and Rutgers has to try to make Ohio State as one-dimensional as they can, and then try to get Kyle in some uncomfortable situations with some exotic blitzes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Just put the game on Kyle's back, only because he, is a little banged up, and just make it a little tougher on him. Now, all of that's easier said than done. I'm sure that's exactly what they were saying in their meetings early on this week. Like, hey, we're going to take the run away and force them to try to be one-dimensional. But, hey, that means cornerbacks and safeties. You got Marvin locked up one-on-one. Good luck. So they'll have to adjust, for that in some senses. But I agree with you. If there's one way that they can do that and try to keep this game close, is figure out a way to make Ohio State really be one-dimensional and really force their hand in making Kyle McCord have to try to beat them, with battling some injuries.
And look, it sounds like Emeka Egbuka looked pretty good in practice yesterday. Mm-hmm. Didn't see that personally, but that's what we're hearing. So that's good. Cade Stover playing through what appears to be a knee injury, it sounds like, something that he's been dealing with for a little bit. I would imagine that anybody that plays Ohio State has to start at the same place. How do we stop 18? Like, if we're going to lose to this team, try to make sure somebody else beats you. And it's hard to do because Ohio State's got depth, but you at least have to try to take away the best player in college football. And the good news for Rutgers, in addition to having a coaching staff that's pretty smart defensively, I like Greg Schiano. I thought he did a good job in Columbus. They've got the tape because Notre Dame basically took Marvin completely out of the game. Mm-hmm. So there is something on tape this year and your own creativity to draw on that I think Rutgers can draw up a good enough game plan defensively to try to limit him.
Yeah, and it might look clunky early, right? As it has in some of the games in the past, where teams do, you're going to have some wrinkles in there that Ohio State hasn't seen, and then you're going to, they're going to try to do different things to mess with Kyle's eyes and try to do whatever they can to lock up Marvin Harrison. You're not going to. It's pretty much impossible, as we've seen over the course of 4 quarters, to do that. But you're going to see something different this week, that's for sure. And like you said, Schiano can be creative. And there is a blueprint out there. You have to have some elite guys on the defensive side. Not that Notre Dame did, but they were kind of in that upper tier class. We'll see if Rutgers can kind of match that. And that's kind of the that would be the concerning part, not the concerning part, but just one of the things to keep your eye on is what will Rutgers do early to try to take 18 away and make the rest of the Ohio State crew try to beat them through the air. Because as we saw on Saturday night, 18 can wreck a game really quickly if you're the opposing defense.
And if you're Rutgers, when you have the ball offensively, I mean, first of all, they're going to have to be able to throw it because pretty much nobody's been able to run on Ohio State this year. Can Gavin Wimsatt do that? I guess we're going to find out. I'm a little hard-pressed to believe it, but I think that's got to be pretty front of mind for them.
It's not their MO is the problem for them. It's like what they're good at is Ohio State's better at. They're good at running the football, controlling the tempo of the game, and Ohio State's better at that. Their defense doesn't give up the run. They turn you over. And from a passing perspective, Wimsatt's averaging like 140 yards a game, 141 yards a game. And frankly, that's not going to get it done. Like Ohio State could play their worst game and Rutgers could only get up 13 points or 14 points, and Ohio State could still win that in a battle like that. So it's gonna take a heroic performance by Wimsatt and the Rutgers passing offense, in my opinion, because it's just not something that they do. They're built off running the football. They're built off not turning it over, which they don't. So only 3 interceptions on the year and 3 fumbles. So they don't turn it over often. And if Ohio State can really start to get them in a game where they don't want to be, you're going to see that interception number skyrocket. And you're going to see it look really uncomfortable. And that's when the game can start to snowball on Rutgers and Ohio State just totally take control of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure Rutgers is looking at this saying, okay, how can we be creative with our play calling offensively? Because even if you go back, and maybe it's a bad example because it was week 1 and you used the word clunky, there was no moment this year that was clunkier than Ohio State's season opener against Indiana. But a team like Indiana that came out and ran the triple option to try to give Ohio State something different, the Buckeyes only beat them 23-3, right? Mm-hmm. It was a good performance. It was far from a great performance. I almost wonder if Rutgers, this might sound weird, if their best defense is their offense, if they can just sustain drives, like even if they come up empty sometimes, but if you have like a 7-minute drive, even if it results in no points, like you're going to find yourself probably still around in the fourth quarter. And I think that's the most dangerous place that Ohio State could let an opponent be. If you can't put them away, give them some hope or life in the fourth quarter. College football is silly, man. Things can happen. I'm not predicting a Buckeye loss here, but Rutgers doesn't stink the way that they have in years past.
Yeah, and to that point, even further, like look at some of their game logs, or just like look up the Rutgers Michigan State game. That's what it was, right? Just stick around, and then something fluky happens. You block a punt, or you return a kick for a touchdown. Something that Ohio State's defense doesn't have any control over, or Marvin Harrison can't do. And that's what changes the game. And A, that's college football at its finest, and B, that's this Rutgers team, right? They're just kind of scrappy, gritty dudes who just kind of get their nose dirty and try to make plays when they can. Certainly the formula is exactly what you said. If you could do that, if you could sustain drives, and if they're punting the ball at the 50-yard line after a 5-minute, 20-yard drive that took 8 plays, that's a win for Rutgers. And it goes back to, we haven't heard this often, but earlier in the year when Coach Day would be like, we're not getting many drives, kind of trying to figure out the new clock system. And it's like, all right, in the first half, you get 4 drives. And let's say you score touchdowns on 2 of them, you kick a field goal and you punt on 1. That's 17 points, so you're still in it, from the opposing side. So that's certainly the formula to try to keep Rutgers in the game if they're going to be able to do so.
Oh, can't wait to watch this game on Saturday. We'll be in Piscataway and bring you as much live coverage as we can. In the meantime, though, BuckeyesNow.com is your written home for all news and information related to Ohio State football. So hope you'll check it out there. And we'd certainly appreciate it if you'd subscribe to this YouTube channel as well, so we can continue to bring you video content just like this. For Anthony Moeglin, I'm Brendan Gulick, the #1 nationally ranked Buckeyes. Going to see if they can put together a performance that matches that top team in the country status. We'll find out in about 48 hours when the Bucks and the Scarlet Knights kick things off in Piscataway. See you soon.